Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and a very good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to all of you, depending on where you're from. Welcome to tonight's webinar on AI. The screen is being shared, and yes, now it's shared. Welcome to Empowerment Through Learning's webinar with Dr.Gael Reinaudi over here. We are empowerment through learning. And by that, I mean that we are empowering the Pakistani students to bridge the gap between industry and academia, soft skills, of course, which will surely help them be the tech leaders of Pakistan and will make Pakistan the next IT hub, inshallah. Our initiatives, all of you might know by now, include where students and mentors all alike join and work together. We offer project paid project for our learning called iRise. We also offer one-on-one direct mentorship with all of our ETL mentors who are, of course, critically acclaimed and very, very successful people, mashallah. We are also working for career guidance and on career help and trying to offer open source project contributions very soon. To keep it very short, we have our socials. The links will be shared with you. And to sum it up, I would just like to say that all of this is happening for free. We're a nonprofit organization, which is technically a 501c3 based in the United States of America. And what we're trying to do here is build a tech community. All of this is for you. It's guided by you. And each and every initiative at ETL is for all of our students who joined us here tonight. Thank you so much for joining. And now, without further ado, I would like to give the mic or hand over the mic to Sir IBM or Sir Irfan Bashir Malik for starting this webinar formally. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, and assalamu alaikum to everyone. And thanks, Dr. Gael, for taking the time out to do this session today. My introduction is going to be very simple. I consider myself as a born-again developer, just like a born-again Muslim or a born-again Christian. The reason I call myself as a born-again developer is because this new craze around AI, I just feel a FOMO inside me because I don't want to be left out, right? So I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of other senior developers like me who have been into the trenches long before this AI, and they could actually relate to the fact how AI makes the development timelines and the entire development process easy. So I'm really super excited. I requested Dr. Gael to fine-tune this session to focus more on the professionals who are into the industry already and may directly be either using an AI tool or maybe even thinking about using a tool like Cursor. So without further ado, do we have Sir Akbar on the call today? Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I did see him join.
Okay. Over to Akbar Saab.
All right. He might be having a connectivity issue. Let's go back to him after some time. You can take on.
Okay. Yeah. So without any further delay, let's introduce Dr. Gael. Doctor, the floor is all yours.
Hello, everybody. So first, thank you for having me, and for this very great opportunity to show some content. And I like very much what you said about you want to be part of that wave of coding, and it's a good time to enter. I would say coding or vibe coding or whatever coding you want to do if you use those tools, because everyone is lost. And that's how I kind of angled the presentation that's coming right now. I wanted to show you what I see most people, even professional coders, miss. And so that's going to turn around that. And I think Akbar or someone is supposed to moderate, because maybe between sections I'm going to pause to see if someone wants to know something or has a question.
I'll be doing that with Akbar.
All right.
Don't worry.
So maybe I should share my screen. Let me try.
If you could give like a 30-second intro of yours, Doctor.
Of course, I forgot about that. Yeah. So originally, I come. My background is actually in quantum physics some time ago, and that's also where I started coding from scratch. I started, computer code for controlling the quantum physics experiments, and I got really bit by this, and it was awesome. I spent my time coding at night and during the weekends, etc. And so after a lot of quantum physics, I went a bit into finance and then startups, and then data science became something. So when data science appeared, it was really well tailored to the physicist mindset of trying things, not falling into traps, statistical traps, and so I really dropped into that. And then you saw what happened with the LLM ChatGPT. Now it's rewriting the whole script of what is possible to do in an hour, what is possible to do in a day, has completely changed because of those tools. And I want to show you what you can do in an hour. I'll fly over some stuff. I've prepared a repo that I will share afterwards. The repo mirrors all those steps, and I did it first because I think it's going to be interesting to have afterwards. But also, if there is a OpenAI outage, I can still go through the repo's commits. So right now I'm working at Tactical Edge AI, and that's a startup where we are trying to really use those new technologies to do breakthroughs in anything. So we are really open for if people are interested in working for a company that wants to try it all and do whatever that's really cool with LLM AI. You can contact me on LinkedIn. All right. So do you see my screen?
Yes, we do see your
Yes,
screen.
sir,
Okay.
we can.
All right. Cool. All right. So if you see my screen, you see the title of the talk. Oh, I see a bunch of notifications here. And so the idea is to use Cursor. Actually, the title of the talk says Cursor, but afterwards I was pointing to the fact that IDEs. How do I stop those notifications popping up? Oh, sorry. I think I got lost.
Yeah, there was a checkbox below.
All right. So afterward, I was reminded that Cursor is just one IDE, but actually, it's any IDE that's AI enabled would be a candidate for doing what I want to show you. And what I want to show you, the goal of this is to make you aware, open your mind about what is possible to do with Cursor that I see almost no one do. And I don't think there was ever an actual 10x developer, that entity that people say, oh, that person is a 10x developer. Maybe I think there were 10x problems with a good developer that goes 10x what you can do on other problems. But my take on it is today, I think I can honestly do 10 to 100 times faster on many tasks that from before the LLM revolution. So I'll start with a warm-up. I call it step 0 because this is what everyone is doing. And so, by the way, can I ask you if you see the notifications popping up? Because if you don't, I'll stop closing them.
Yeah, actually, we can see if you go to
We
the
do.
site, you will see the option here. Don't allow this site to send notification. It's second checkbox below this one.
All
Yeah,
right.
this one.
All right. Perfect. Okay, that should be better. All right. So it's still showing up, right? Don't allow site to send notification. Okay. Well, anyway, that's okay. It's going to be a bit weird, but that's okay. So step 0 is autocomplete. People realize that if when you're in Cursor, you see highlights, you see date time is not defined. you hit tab and it tells you at the top, okay, we're going to add datetime. That's it. You start typing something and it says, oh yeah, it's a hash password function. So let's hash a password, Oh, the hashlib is missing. Tab, hashlib is there, okay? So all those kind of stuff are really easy. And also people say, okay, let's do something. Let's.
I think we'll have to remove you as a co-host because Mutahir, could you make him as a presenter and not the co-host? I think he's a co-host.
Yeah,
That's why.
Allow share screen for all men. So like just allow share screen, and then you can be just the host.
Should I rejoin with my settings updated or settings? That's unexpected. We couldn't test that during the the connection the other day.
You should be able to share screen now.
All right. So let me share screen, and hopefully no more notifications. All right. All right. All right. I'm back. No notifications so far. So I just wanted to show what everyone can do. It says, okay, add calculator class. Enter. There's a typo. It doesn't care. It's going to make a great calculator class. What I want to show is that most people stop here, and that's the end of my step 0. So I'll just jump right into step 1. Let's just okay. See, it's making a plan. It's going to make a class. Okay, so for step 1, that's the Git repo I would share afterwards. Step 1, I'm going to just check out. And
did you stop sharing your screen?
Oh,
because
yes,
we
Dr.
cannot,
Gael, you have to share your screen again.
we cannot see your screen.
Interesting. Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see
Perfect.
it
Yes.
All right. Okay. Okay. Maybe I clicked on something. Okay. Can you see a Git repo history here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can see.
Yes. Okay. Can. All right. So I jump to my next step. That's kind of primed for another example. So now I'm in. Now I have a calculator class. Okay, and interestingly, in that repo, I made Cursor build some tests. So I'm going to create a new thing. You see that the calculator is in the context, and I'm going to say Cursor make some tests for the calculator class. And I know some people already use Cursor to write tests. The issue with that is usually the Cursor says, okay, the test is ready, now you can test your class. And you should not stop here. So I want to come back while it's coding. I want to remind a few stuff. So tests was one of the things that people used to not do in their code base because it took too long. And you would spend more time updating your tests rather than coding, and they didn't do it. Whereas today, there's absolutely no reason to not have tests because Cursor can do them really well for you. I'm going to talk to you about the Cursor rules file in 2 seconds, because here you see that Cursor has made a test class, test calculator. It's pretty long, and it makes some good assumptions about what the test class should do. Multiplied, it checks a bunch of stuff. And you see at the top that it used PyTest. Why did it use PyTest and not unit test? How does Cursor make choices, basically? How do we know it's going to use Pydantic version 1 or version 2? Those kind of things. Well, if you make a Cursor file, you can tell Cursor that you prefer PyTest, which is my case. So I'm going to show you exactly how it looks by showing you by showing you. Okay. All right. So now I have introduced mistake. Okay. Okay, so now I have my calculator class. I should have the test ready as well. What I want to show you is the cursor file. Where's the cursor file? Oh. Okay, I have a small. Okay, so let's do it live. In this calculator, I have introduced mistakes. I don't know if you see my Git, but I changed the times into divided and divided into times. And so what I want to show you is that if I ask Cursor to make a test class, it's going to not only detect that the class is the tests are failing, and it's going to fix them. But to do that, you will need. Okay, just give me 2 seconds. I need to take something. Test task. Okay, maybe I didn't commit the test. That's okay. So when Cursor is finished with the test, you will tell it, okay, run the test. And so that's super important, because when Cursor does that, it sees the inside of the terminal. Now it's starting the test. It doesn't find Python. Okay, so use my conda environment. Oops. I guess it will figure it out. So when you use Cursor to make your file executed, it will correct your test, correct your file. Here, 4 tests have failed, and Cursor is not going to stop there. It says, oh, okay, I see where it fails. Oh, the multiply is wrong, etc. It's going to fix it for me in a few minutes, in a few seconds. Then it's going to update the calculator. It has correctly identified that there's a mistake here because the tests were correct. And now it's running the test, and they pass. And that's a crucial thing. So that's all I wanted to tell you about test. Just don't stop at making the test. Use Cursor to run it, because Cursor is going to be much better at you than you at reading the logs and finding the errors. All right, so let me come back to my script now. I'm going to reject all this, jump to my step 2, check out the branch. All right, close the calculator, close the step 1 demo, open the step 2. There is something weird about the Cursor test I have to mention, and sometimes, be careful, Cursor tries to mock everything in your test, which means it tries to simulate complex parts of your code to go faster at testing the rest. And so just be careful with this. Okay, so now we get into the crunchy part of the talk, which is most people say, okay, Cursor is good at making small edits, autocompletes, a small file, a small class, a small test, no problem. But what happens when we have several folders, several repos in talking to each other, like a front-end repo and a back-end repo, and all these things are depending on each other. And then they say, okay, it's too complex, Cursor cannot do it. Actually, if you do that, most of the time, yeah, it's going to struggle, because its context, which is here, is going to look at only one part of the code and not see maybe the bigger picture. So I have a trick that there was a LinkedIn post I made recently about it, is if you have a complex repo, then you can tell Cursor, hey, you know what? What would I do to a new joiner to our company? Explore and explain how this application works and what it does, and how the front end connects to the back end, and what's the overall architecture. And And Cursor is going to do exactly this. It's reading the main, it's reading the task, it's reading the app.jsx, which I didn't write, by the way. Cursor helped me build all those stuff to be a support for using Cursor for this demo. So it's reading everything. Now it's starting to have some picture internally. And it's going to make a very nice summary of what's going on. It says, okay, here's what's going on. There is the backend, it's fast API, it has a bunch of endpoints to get, post, put. There's a front end, which is React, and it does a bunch of stuff. But there's a reason I want you to show this, because it's directly linked to how Cursor can do very complex tasks. If you asked a new joiner in your team to change the endpoint on the front and the back, you would tell the person to understand what's going on, and that's what Cursor is doing. So after that, it's made a nice chart. We could tell it something like this: hey, explore more, create a mermaid chart. So mermaid is a great addition to Markdown, and it allows you to make beautiful diagram right into your editor. So if you tell it to make a mermaid chart, put everything into a file called architecture.md, which is here. You're going to see that it's going to double check what it did. It's going to go back in the file and make a new file that I like to call architecture.md. So let's see what it does. Can everyone hear me still well? Am I still clear?
Loud and clear, Dr. Gael.
All right, cool. Okay, cool. Because I'm trying to show you things that are like super. Sorry?
Yeah. You mentioned something about the cursor rule. Back on the cursor rules, right?
I can't hear you very well. Can you say again?
The cursor rules. We were going to talk about the cursor rules in step 2.
I'm going to show you the cursor rules right now, because it was in 2 steps. The first one was the introductory step for the step 2, because step 1, because how does cursor make decisions, and here I will have the cursor rules actually set up. So let's take a look at the cursor rules. So the cursor rules are awesome. That's where you put stuff such as, you are a full stack developer. You are really good at stuff. Say, I like unit tests to use PyTest, and I want them to be done this way. That's where you put rules. That cursor, and when you think about it, it's exactly. I'll come back to that much more later, actually. But when someone joins your team, you tell that person, yeah, we use PyTest, and we use Pydantic, and we do this way. And basically, that's me telling Cursor, I like integration test in the test folder /integration. That's how I like to do stuff. And Cursor reads that file every time before starting to go to work. All right.
And is
now,
it
Cursor
specific? Or could multiple users in the team have their own rules file?
Yes. So personally, I make the Cursor rules part of the repo I'm working on, so that people who get the repo have the same rules. But if someone wants to have other rules, they can put their rules to say, I prefer to check the syntax at the very end. That maybe that their way of coding. Or I prefer my commit message to be short. If you ask Cursor to do commit message, which we will come back at the end. So I like to have my Cursor rules in the repo, because I like consistency with developers in the repo I work on.
Okay.
So Cursor made a file here. It's an architecture file, and I'm going to show you one of the things you should absolutely have. It's get the right extension. So there's an extension. Where are the extension? My screen is so big. There's an extension called Markdown Preview Mermaid Support. If you get that extension, Markdown Preview Mermaid Support, and you click that button, you will see in your architecture.md file, you will see the text, the code, and the charts. And as you can see, I don't know why it does always that, but here's another stuff you can do with Cursor. So, and that's really cool. I'm going to make a screen capture, copy it here, and I'm going to tell it, hey, it's not readable. You have put clear text on clear background, and that's really not cool. So Cursor is going to go to work, change this, and make a nice architecture. What I want to show you now is how Cursor going to be able to make something complex. So now that this architecture is there, look at this. I'm going to tell Cursor I want to add a priority field to the task. It's the application that is the support of this talk. Update the backend and the front end and refer to the architecture.md file to for the exact location of the code to change and plan accordingly. Okay, so that's super important, because now Cursor is not going to stop at just trying stuff around. It's going to use the architecture file that it just made for itself to find its way around. So okay, first, that's much better, right? That's the architecture of the app I made. That's the exchange of API endpoint, and that's super cool. So for people who are trying to be hired and or shine with their boss in a company to be the best, if you send a diagram like that to your boss, and your boss has been waiting for that for more than a year, it takes minutes to do that with Cursor. You send that, and everyone loves you when you send them, okay, here's a breakdown of what the application is doing, and here's how it happens. And now you can imagine your next planning session is going to be much easier. But let me try to show you the thing that is really important, which is wait just a second.
While you are looking for that, Dr. Gael,
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask, these extensions in Cursor are probably something which make it like a better AI tool, say, than the other CLI tools, because you could potentially add different extensions, right? Like just like you added the mermaid, you could add a different extension, right?
Yeah, completely. So it's a very good point, and I frequently forget about how great IDs are, because I'm used to them now. But you're completely right. People say, "Oh, Claude does everything for me." Well, guess what? Can Claude? Yeah, does Claude has an extension to show you the mermaid file in this way? Maybe not. To tell you, like, this is all the extension I have on the left here to format my code, do great Apollo GraphQL request, have a great formatter, do some C++ sometimes, Dart when I make an iPhone app, those kind of stuff help a lot. And it would be super hard to go as fast as I go without all those extensions. The Markdown preview is great because it rendered the file right into my IDE, and then I could look at it, take a screenshot of it, and send it to Cursor so that it corrects the whole experience. So watch this. That's very cool. So I'm going to interrupt Cursor, and actually, I'm going. Okay, let's do it. I'm not going to stick to the script. I'll jump to it on step 3 after. I say, Cursor, I want the priority field. It's complex. It's a big app. Review the architecture diagram and do it. So Cursor now is planning. You say, hey, to update the thing, I need to do those stuff, and it's going to do it now. So while it's doing it, let me see. Oh, yes. Okay. I'm going to keep talking about the Cursor rules file, because here you see, I tell Cursor, okay, there's this architecture file.md. and it's big and it's useful and you can refer to it. But I want I want Cursor to know, you know what? When you make changes to the code base, always check out the architecture diagram. You know, it's there if you need to do something. And if you change something in the interface, for example, now there is going to be a priority field inserted into the backend, into the front end. If you see something that doesn't match in the architecture diagram, update it. So where am I going to put this? I'm going to put this in the cursor rules. Here, I do this. And now, without asking, every time, Cursor is going to check out the architecture diagram and is going to fix it and update it as needed. And it's going to be a bit magical. You know, every time it does it, it's going to change it's going to happen actually later in later steps where we change the app, and you're going to say, Cursor, think, oh, I should update the architecture.md so that it's still, you know, in sync. So the thing that used to take hours and days to people make tests, make great documentation, architecture diagrams, and worst of all was keeping them up to date. You know, someone changes something and now you have an architecture diagram and it's wrong, so it throws everyone in the wrong direction. Well, now it's actually not only done in seconds, but it's done automatically as you code. So now you can concentrate on your app to do interesting stuff, and Cursor is your co-pilot and does all those stuff. So yeah, I want to stay on track. So
yeah, one more question.
Yes.
I'll keep on thinking. So I think this cursor rules is that gem kind of stuff which Gemini gives you, right? Up till time before you would want to use cursor's ID. My question is, how easy it is for us as a development team to maybe introduce some kind of a structured schema so that natural language, I mean, it appears that you can define cursor rules in natural language, but is there any structured schema that we could all adhere to and understand properly for defining the rules?
I would say I didn't use the cursor rules for a long time, and one day I realized it kept doing something I didn't like, so I just started typing in it. You know, there are great Git repos with a huge amount of cursor rules examples, and so you can read them, look at them, and you can even ask Cursor to go watch them. So that's another stuff, by the way, tool-wise. I want to stay on track time-wise, but another ultra powerful tool is this. So you can say, update my cursor rules so that you always check the architecture diagram before a change. And Cursor knows it has a cursor rules and it knows what it is for. So it's always happy to go in it and say, oh, sure, I'll add some stuff in the cursor rules. And, you know, it's kind of meta. It writes into its own cursor rules. For this, it wants an approval. One very important stuff you want to see. So here, it's updating the cursor rules with content. Architecture awareness, mandatory, always consult. So all this is good for Cursor. I want everyone to know about something very important called Git MCP. For example, let's say you use Pydantic, okay? You go to the Pydantic website and you see there is a version 2, version 1, etc. And Cursor always makes the mistakes. It always gets the wrong one. You know, it starts coding with Pydantic version 1, but you want the 2. So I like to get the most up-to-date documentation. So if you have an address like this, the GitHub Pydantic thing, you can actually go to a website called Git MCP. So in Git MCP, you put any Git, any public Git, you transform it into an MCP. Actually, they do that automatically. He's a bit slow. Oh, it was there. Okay. Now this address can be used inside Cursor as an MCP. So should I talk a bit about MCPs, because they are a bit of a strange thing?
Yes,
Yeah?
not a lot of participants may know what MCP is. So just like maybe a bit segue into what MCP is, how it helps.
So MCP is just basically a tool that we give to any IDE, Cloud, or Cursor. It's a tool, and it's accessible through the internet, online, or from your local machine. And the hardest part with those tools is, where do they run? Where's the intelligence happening? Where should I run something on my computer? Should I run something on another computer? For me, it was the difficult part at the beginning was, I like this MCP, but I have to run a server on my computer every time I want to use it. So I start my computer, now I have to start a server. It's okay. So these are a bit difficult to use. However, every Git repo through Git MCP, that website I showed you, is an online MCP that you can use. For example, in my repo, if I go to the settings, tools and integration, I have a few MCP from Git MCP. One is from Phoenix, one is from the Python Shiny, one is from Pydantic. And when you do that, you can tell Cursor to do very complex stuff using the most recent documentation. Example, actually I'm going to add the URL I just took from the internet. Let's see, plus I'm going to add this. I say, okay, that's Pydantic. That's the thing for Pydantic. Save. And now, boom, I have a Pydantic doc here. I think I made a mistake. No, it's good. Okay. So once you do that, you can say, hey, code this class and figure out in the doc what's the best way to use it. And it's amazing, because then you see things like things like this on the screen. I think it would go faster if I show you here. You said, oh, let me look at the example, blah, blah, blah. Oh, now it called the search LaTeX code. Oh, here's the documentation. It makes a query, it finds the documentation, and now it says, oh, perfect. Now I can see the pattern for the example. Let me update your code. And it came from the Git repo. And that's super powerful, because it's always up to date, and it's always the best information you can find. All right, I think maybe I said enough.
What could be the downside of using these online MCP servers versus hosting your own? Maybe not able to maintain context is one, right? What others?
I mean, documentation is a documentation, but some MCP are for memory. And yes, you have to run them somewhere. So that's for you to see if there's a service that exists, if it's free, if it's cheap, if it's easy to use, or if it's on your local machine and it's hard to start. So it's for you to decide. But MCPs can do so many stuff. Some MCPs are for memory, and so you tell a Cursor, hey, when I do something, remember what just happened, so that we don't do it again in the future. And it sends it to the tool. So I want to remember that, and the tool is there for answering question in the future with that memory. So MCP could be a 5-hour class. So it's just my small introduction to, if you want to use them, check out this one first, gitmcp.io, and then you will have the taste at how great they are, and it will open your mind about how much more they can do.
Any specific MCP server you would want to recommend for maintaining the memory? Because that's a very critical part, at least for any team who's continuously working on a specific tool set, right? Any specific MCP you have used would like to recommend?
So I've not used them, but if you look for awesome MCP, So there's a full GitHub, okay? Oh, MCP GitHub. In the series of the awesome GitHub repos, here's all the MCP that they recommend, and you see it's a lot. But you can go to it goes on for like a long time. So all that are MCP. If you look for one for memory, knowledge and memory, there's a bunch of stuff you can try, and that's the complexity. There are so many tools now, right? There are so many tools. It's the complexity to find a good one. That's why I showed you the mermaid preview stuff in the IDE, because it took me a bunch of time finding the right markdown viewer. And I thought there's no reason for that. Like I'm just going to advise people to use it. For the memory, I have no advice. But for GitHub repo documentation, just use gitmcp.io. And that will be the perfect introduction. Yeah, go ahead.
We could use an MCP online to do the same step you did Mermaid, right? You could use a knowledge graph or something like that to generate that kind of an output using an MCP as well online.
Yeah. In the end, Cursor is going to edit the file because it only has the power to write into it. But what it's finding, let me come back to this actually. What it's finding can come from an MCP. You know, that MCP here in that results, which is truncated by the viewport here. That MCP is telling it that's how the perfect example looks like in the documentation. And then Cursor says, oh, I see, and it's doing it. But yeah, MCPs can tell you what time it is, tell you the weather in a place. It can do amazing stuff. So these there are too many for there is a location service one. There are too many for us. So if you have a problem, think of what could solve it. Go to the awesome MCP GitHub repo, and then you have fun. Have fun is important in coding. So
we could potentially do a follow-up session on only on the MCPs, maybe. Right?
Oh, yes.
I mean, that's a conversation for a future event.
MCP is a completely a 4-hour discussion, and even I'm not even sure. So here you'll notice that the app has updated the backend. It has updated the models and stuff. It has updated the front end, and oh, that's beautiful. It has even updated the test because I put it into the rules. In the Cursor rules, there is something that says the test should be up to date with the code. So at the end, it says, "Hey, I have now a priority field. Let's test it." You know, it's ugly if you add something is not tested, because when you add something in your code and you don't test it, I can guarantee it is the one thing that is going to crash in production the next day. And then everyone is going to ask, where is the test for this? So just make the test, okay? So that's what is so amazing with that stuff. So here I'm going to revert all those change, delete that architecture, and I'm going to jump to step 3 of this presentation. And the step 3 of the presentation is hopefully a bit fun. Okay, so let me try to remove this from here. Can I close this? All right. All right. So what is added in step 3? Name formatter. Okay. We get to the name formatter. Control P. Control P. Name formatter. Name formatter is a class that your colleague made. The colleague made the class, and it's ugly. There are like even try catch block everywhere that silence your errors. Let's actually silence this one. Pass. And I put one at the end, and actually in that class there is a bug. I'm going to say, hey, you see the name formatter? Run that script. Why would I run it? Let's say I ran it before, just to have fun. Why would I run it when Cursor can run it and realize that it crashes. Oh, okay. Here it crashes because of my conda environment. Okay, it found it. Okay, so it's that script has a bug. It found it by itself. It said, hey, the script, there is an output, B Smith D prints, but there is Alice is missing, failed silently. Ooh, that's horrible. So I want to show you something amazing that I've seen no one do so far. And run the script. It's miserably, it miserably fails at what. So investigate like Sherlock Holmes. Also, I did my research. Usually, I try to use Colombo in Europe, but Sherlock Holmes apparently is more famous, in Eastern regions. And I found there is apparently another inspector in the TV series. So you can do whatever you want. You can say Sherlock Holmes if you want. And then you are going to see that cursor is going to not stop at. Sometimes it does it by itself. So let's see what it does. But cursor is going to run the script, investigate. Say, interesting, the script appears, blah, blah, blah. And mature my dear Watson, which is normal. I told it to do it like Sherlock Holmes. So what is it going to do now? It's starting to put print statement. If it doesn't, and I put it in my cursor rules, there's a statement that says, if you debug something, well, speak like Colombo, Inspector Colombo or Inspector Sherlock Holmes, and start putting print lines everywhere. Why do I say that? I say that because I want to come back to that screen. I say that because if it was me debugging an horrible script that has silent mistakes, I would start putting print lines everywhere. I would say, then I would run the script, then I would open the log, then I would read the log, and I would realize, oh, okay, I would try to figure out, and then at some point I would realize, oh, it didn't call that function, so it must be there. And that's exactly what cursor is doing. Case closed. It put the print statement, and it found the mistake, and then did it fix it? Did it fix it? I don't know. Okay, so fix it. It found the mistake, and then it fixes the bug, and that's amazing. So in your cursor rules, always put. So that's the case closed. I want to show you the cursor rules. It's easier in this tool, which I will talk about briefly if I have time at the end. But at the beginning, when investigating, think like Inspector Colombo. Methodically and compressive logging, trace every step and gather all evidence before reaching a conclusion. This is what makes cursor do the job for you. Okay, it found the problem. When there is only a first name, it breaks the script. So I did nothing. I just told it to run the script and to be a good investigator. And I put cursor in charge of convincing me. Cursor is telling me everything about it here. Hey, the thing. Yeah.
I'm sorry for interrupting you here, but this is really important.
Yeah.
Did we give cursor in our tests? Did we give like enough diversity in the test cases? Because how come it basically identified that it was an issue if the name is one word and not multiple words?
Oh, okay. So in that very case, so in this very case, I think it did a few things. Usually I would tell it, okay, it put print statements. Here it changed. Actually, you know what? In this case, let's come back to here. But it put the print statement, and then when it does what you would do. Once it figures out, oh, okay, that doesn't make sense, and then it crashes at that line, it goes to that line, and then it starts looking around. And then cursor looks at the code a bit like I would do and starts investigating it. But instead of taking 10 minutes, it takes 10 milliseconds. And so in 10 milliseconds, it realizes that there is there's an open bracket 1 somewhere here. And, you know, Cursor has seen all the code of the universe. It has read all the books about Python. It has read all the books about C++ and all the languages that don't exist anymore. And it knows that accessing something with a bracket 1 is a code smell, you know, depending on what's just before that. So there's a split before that. There is a bracket 1 right after. I'm sure that's what there is, you know, and then it figures out, you know, it's a code smell. So it finds it easily. But it has happened to me in other code base with multiple repos where I say, you know what, put print log lines everywhere. Write all that in a log and tell me why my endpoint is not working. And it did that, and at some point it says, okay, it looks like that endpoint is never called like the other endpoint. And that puts you on track so you can do your job. So my point here is tell Cursor to help you debug. Cursor is looking over your shoulder. Your script doesn't work. Your endpoint is not working. Tell it to do what you would do. Make a log. If it could be something else. I mean,
Right.
in
like
science.
Yeah. Yes, sorry. I would like to on the same problem because I want to understand whether it is identifying the problem logically or by going through different test cases. I don't think it's going through different test cases. By looking at what you just explained, looking at it from a logical perspective, right?
Yeah, in this time there was no test, and that's why I said that script has been written by your colleague at the firm. The colleague is gone. The script is there. There is no test, and all the failure is silently being you know, have a pass, and they are failing silently. So that's what I mean. Like, this is a bad piece of code. It's a terrible piece of code, and there is no test for it. So what Cursor did is just run the test. I just told it to run the script. So it is Python script name formatter.py, which is an executable script, right? At the end here. And then it realized, oh, okay, so maybe I should put some print statements instead of nothing, you know? And that's how it found it. And so it was by following clues, and then when it was close enough, logically, by looking at the code. In this example is a bit simple because I didn't have time to find a very horrible bug to solve. But if you have one, try this. Because yeah, I mean, those kind of bugs, you know what? Once you solve them, you tend to forget about them. But sometimes I wish I would copy. I think I'm going to start copying them somewhere. The very sneaky one that make you lose hours and days sometimes. So that's about debugging. Use Cursor for this. Something I don't know, how much time do you think I could still go, or do you have question about that section of debugging?
No, I'm good. I just wanted to let the students or whoever is watching know that it's basically doing a pretty good job at actually looking at the code logically rather than doing like dumping different test cases. So yeah, let's move on. And from a time perspective, we could extend the session if you have time. That's not an issue.
Oh yeah, I have time. Yeah. It's yeah, I have time. Okay, so that's about debugging. Let's look at the cursor rules one last time just before I switch back to the test. I'm going to remove this. I'm going to jump to step 4. My cursor rules were only edited here. I want to tell you about that tool if I have time later, for so that you are 10 times faster at Git. Okay, so this is all right. Okay, this is a complex one because Cursor is extremely good at doing DevOps tasks. It's extremely good at doing what takes me hours to do. So, and now it does it in seconds. For example, you want to start a database and start, you know, do something for your startup or whatever, or you know, you just want a database. It could be anything. You want to start recording the name of movies you have seen this year. Okay. Well, you go to Cursor, but now you have to make a database, and it's horrible. So in this section, I'm just going to show you what's going on. So I'm going to say, hey, start up the Postgres service using Docker Compose. Oh yeah, because in that example, there's the Docker Compose, but Cursor could easily do it. So I go here and I send that. And verify it's working. Which means for people in the chat, in the class that are going to join a startup or are in a startup, onboarding is 1,000 times faster with Cursor, because onboarding used to be, okay, where are the keys, where are the code, where are the this, where that. No, you tell Cursor, here's the repo, start it, tell me what's missing, so I can bother my colleagues with a question. And maybe I should corner of Python. Okay, so here you say, oh, okay, I see there is a. It's going to say, I see there is a Docker Compose file. Let me start it for you. Okay, perfect. The Postgres service is now running. What did I do? I just asked. I didn't mess with Postgres. If Postgres was missing from Ubuntu, which I'm running on, it would tell me you don't have Postgres. Do you want to install it? And then it would do a sudo apt-get install Postgres or something, and I would just click yes. I want to update. So now for the fun part. Okay, I want a demo, so I want to add a few tables and relations for the demo. Okay. And Cursor is fluent at SQL. It knows everything. So it knows now, because of its context above here, that there is a Postgres running. It knows the address. It knows the password. So now what is it going to do? It makes a demo schema.sql, which is going to insert a bunch of stuff in the database. And that will be great, is going to do that. Then what should I ask Cursor after? I prepared all those things before. Oh yeah, let's have a mermaid graph after, okay? Then I'll ask it to make a mermaid graph of the schema. Why spend hours looking at what the schema should be when Cursor can do it right away? It's going to look for it. It's going to put it in the architecture diagram if it follows my Cursor rules. And then you just, those things for me could take 10 hours. You spend the day trying to start Cursor, run the database, import the data, run the migrations, and all those stuff that's kind of very scary. Then you want to figure out what's going on, so you follow the classes, and it's horrible. It's not documented. Cursor does it for you in a few minutes, and that's what I mean by 100x. In a few minutes, you can do something that for me would take a day of horrible labor. And you don't have to, okay? So I think you get the idea. Cursor is good at Bash. Cursor is good at SQL. It's good at system. It's good at everything. There is an extra section on that, which is infrastructure on the fly. Let's say you want to install, and I'm using use cases that I had to deal with in the past, right? And that took me days. You have a Postgres, that's great. But your boss, you want GraphQL, because GraphQL is so cool, GraphQL, you can do requests that are already linked to other aspects of your schema. So you say, okay, you want GraphQL. Now you have to download Hasura, which is a framework that does that. It transforms your Postgres. It makes an access point that makes your Postgres looks like GraphQL. But you have to put it into your Docker Compose, and then you have to start it, and then you have to figure out the endpoint, etc. But no, here I'm going to go a bit faster because you get the idea. But I'm going to come back to step 6. Okay, step 6 is exactly that. No, it's in front of the fly. Step 5. Sorry. Step 5. Checkout. Boom. All right. Step 5 is exactly this. It's you have the schema, you have the Postgres, and now you want Hasura. Okay, so let's do this. Use replace chat. Yes, replace chat. Beam. By the way, when you code, you have to use the auto execute thing. This agent stuff, there's a manual agent. I think in the new version, you can say auto, so that it can run wild and run command in your system. In Cursor, it's right here. Auto run mode, yes. Because that's when you do that, you can say, oh, I guess I'm going to run this script. Oh, I see an error. Maybe I should execute this command now. Conda info ems. It's looking for my environment right now. It's been struggling a bit in the past few days with my environments.
Hi guys,
So I have to figure that out.
I have a question for you.
Yep.
You said earlier cursor running the Docker daemon. So what's if I want to install Postgres globally in my Docker? Because in my Docker I spin up the image of Ubuntu or Debian. So if Docker install the oops, so if cursor install the Postgres globally to my local machine, like it has the access to my local machine to install the Postgres, or it still install the Postgres on my Docker.
It's the way you want. What you just told me, write that prompt in Cursor. Verbatim. I mean, if I had the time to write exactly that, hey, I'm wondering where's the Postgres running? Is it in the Docker? Is it locally, or is it connecting to a prod? You don't want that, huh? Or is it? And Cursor is going to do no. Right now, it's actually running from within the Docker Compose, and I made a proxy on your local machine that goes inside that Docker Postgres. But say, oh no, I want Postgres on my machine. Create a legit database, on local machine, which I wouldn't advise on. But he said, okay, I guess, and it's going to do it because it has access to the Docker Compose file. So here it is. That's the Docker Compose file. That was the Postgres implementation demo for the beginning of this part of the demonstration. I told it, okay, now I want Hasura, and now it added something. So all this is happening inside the Docker. But you could tell, no. Actually, let's try. I don't want to interrupt it right now because it's too beautiful. If you go through everything it does, and I want you to see that, it changes the Docker, starts it, tests it. It tests the endpoint. Like, cool. Just finding that command would take me, I don't know. I don't know if I would find that command, but I would try for an hour at least. And then it tests the endpoint. It tells the health check. Oh, I'm done. Service status, database, GraphQL capabilities, etc. But let's try to see. It's not finished yet. But so I've answered your question by the fact that it can do it. You want.
All right, got it.
Yeah, here it's in the Docker, but I say no, I want it locally, and it would start going after that, and in minutes you will have exactly what you want. So here you go. You get your GraphQL endpoint. I think, okay, I should use some time for a very important point, which I was asked to stress a bit, which is the version control dance in a team, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let me interrupt Cursor, although I could watch it all day long, when it does that. I'm going to jump to step 6, but I'm not going to save this. Discard. That's okay. Close. And I'm on step 6. Okay.
So one of the things that we face here then is that within one team, using agents, right? So someone likes Cursor, other one likes a different, maybe using Sephora, right? So if you could give recommendations, what benefit you would get as a team if you stick to one particular tool?
Yeah. Okay. So for me, I have a set of tools that I could not live without. I mean, I would, but it would be super painful. And so these tools, which I highly advise you use them to the best of their capabilities, is PyTest, easy. Rough. Rough is the new Python Black. TY, Amazing. TY is the new MyPy, except it's a billion times faster. And it doesn't drain the battery of your computer as fast. Maybe I should. I'm assuming most of the people here are mostly Python or not. I don't want to.
There's a mix.
A mix. Okay, there's a mix. So in every language, there will be this problem of formatting and rules for a team is not new at all. So in whatever language you have, there will be tools, ref, ty, uv to install packages, coverage, etc., etc. So let's not spend too much time on that. What you can do is put those tools to use by having GitHub Actions. GitHub Actions, are things that are triggered when you push something on GitHub. You can tell GitHub, hey, execute that script that check the formatting, and then you get an error if someone updates something that's not great. But you can especially update your cursor rules, because that's the topic today. That says, hey, here's the tool we use, Python standard. Okay, those are my rules. Most of my rules in the team I'm in right now. Python 3.12, annotation and Pydantic v2, good linting guidelines, etc. If there's something that you like, tell it. I hate raw dictionary in Python. The thing where we access a dictionary with something in quote. So never use raw dictionary, because it breaks the structure that I want to have on my screen. Logging is done this way. Logging is done that way. Do share your concern about formatting of the file at the end of the working session. All those kind of stuff are cursor rules. If in Python, it's about using the right tools. For me, when I save a file in Python, it automatically triggers the linting formatting tool, and my code snaps into place. And that's one cool stuff I have. So I wanted to show you that, but there is something I want to show you to be especially aware of what is in your Git repo, and it comes with a software called SmartGit. So I have no equity in SmartGit, but if I could, I would. SmartGit is awesome. SmartGit is the thing I've been showing you from the beginning, and if you have as many repo as I have, like which is on the left here, and that's only that's only a part of it. If you have as many repo as I have, and you want to switch between them in a fraction of a second, say, hey, I'm going to open all these repos, this one, this one, this one, and I can see all the stuff, okay? And if you want to see, oh, what's the difference between this commit and that commit of that day that worked? This one worked, this one doesn't work. What's the difference? You just highlight, you see the difference. And if you have to move commits, sometimes it's a huge pain to move commits around, but it's possible. If I drag and drop a commit here, it will rewrite the history so that the content of that commit, if possible, is moved somewhere else. So it's a free software for education, science, and personal project, but it's really useful for me to not only have Git in check, but also seeing all the changes. Let's see, I make a change here and here in that file. So look at what happened. I have a file here, step 5 demo. It has changed here and here. But I want to make a clean commit for my team. I want to commit that has only the first change. So I'm going to stage that by clicking that small arrow. And now only this is going to be committed when I commit. There's only one change here. Now I can commit. Okay, blah, blah, blah. I send it, commit, finished. Okay. So super important. Use the right tools. So that you know what you are sending your team. There's something else I should say about that. Cursor or any AI IDE is really good at writing Git commits. Because, I mean, my Git commits so far, I don't know if you have seen, but wait, they are not, okay, view, window. My Git commits so far are really bad, but you can ask Git, and I need to come back on track actually, step 6. You can ask Git, please Git commit this with a great commit message that my colleague will love, and it does it. So to show you this, I'm going to go one step back while keeping the history, while keeping the things. All right, reset. Okay, now I'm one step back. Okay, the cursor rules have changed and the step demo 6 have changed. So let's try this. No, and all right. Please commit the change with a great commit message. Guess what? Cursor is not only going to see the change it just made, and if it doesn't see the changes, like here, it didn't do any change. Usually it would, but not this time, because it's going to look into the Git. This Git status. It's going to look at the diff, Git diff. Okay, that's amazing. It sees the diff in the cursor file. It sees the diff in the step 6 demo.md, and it's looking at the log of Git, one large Git status, and now, okay, perfect. Your change has been committed. So look at this. I have a new commit here. Let's see the commit message. The commit message is this: level up the workflow. What's new? Added compressive tooling, established Pydantic first architecture, define. Can you imagine your reviewer sees that before they check out your code? That's amazing. Right. They are going to love you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So don't hesitate to use Git. I've never
there
tried
was
to
one,
use.
Yeah, there was one more thing that you pointed out the other day that we were talking, like adding some prefixes or postfixes to your rules, maybe, so that your commit messages always have a certain pattern.
Oh yeah, yeah.
To avoid hallucinations, right?
Yeah, if you have rules like that, and I'm sure awesome cursor rules, the Git repo has a bunch of stuff like that. But yeah, you can say commit this and put in your rules. By the way, ask me if it's a fix, if it's a debug, if it's something like that. And yeah, put all that in rules. For example, sometimes, I did that one day. Sometimes someone sends me a Slack message and I say, here's the Slack message I received right now. My colleague said my last PR had a blah, 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 Cursor is going to react really well to that. It's going to say, oh, okay, let me take a look at the file. Maybe, maybe we could make it better, So I'm going to put it here right now. And then here's the thing. You can either add rules or I'm going to interrupt it here because you see it's going to check the cursor rules, etc. But here I'm going to tell it, add a rule that says you should ask me if you want to commit the changes when the changes are ready, which means once cursor, so it's editing the rules now, once cursor is done with what you want to do, and when it considers that it's pretty cool and tested and it's happy about it, it's going to ask you, do you want me to commit now? Now you just have to say yes because it's in your rules, And there you go. The cursor rules have been updated. Always check for and remove unused imports. Oh, that's something I asked it to add. And before suggesting a commit, summarize what changed, blah, blah, blah. So tell cursor you want rules. Tell cursor you want team building rules. It will help you with that. I think that's about it. There's one very last tiny stuff, and then I will be super open for question. No, don't. Yeah. Okay, that's the subject of. Let me first revert my thing here. Step 6 is back where it should be. I jump to step 7 so that you can see this. So what really ruins your day? To me, it's organizing pictures from the vacation. Also, it's getting easier. Or, I buy a cool joystick to play a flight simulator, and guess what? I'm on Ubuntu and it doesn't work. So instead of spending hours on forums like I used to do, just say that I have plugged a joystick for flight simulator, but it doesn't work. It doesn't appear to work. Arc Ubuntu, and Cursor, it has command line access to your machine. So it's not going to do sudo commands that easily by itself. But right now, what's it doing? It's listing the USB stuff. So, okay, there is the thing, or there's a bunch of inputs. DSMG, for me, finding that line takes me 10 minutes, right? Every time. LS mod, grep, iJoy, MS, all those kind. Joystick is going for it. Cursor is going for it. Now it wants to do, okay, let's be careful. There is a sudo command, sudo dsmg grep. Okay, it wants to grep something. It wants to read something that only you could read. So I say, yes, go for it. And it sees all the stuff. That's my mouse here, the light G604 light speed. It wants to install a joystick stuff. Okay, why not? Okay, I think I already have it installed, but we'll see. So what I'm trying to show you here is that thing is insane. I'm going to stop it now, but the other day, while looking for the joystick that, poor Cursor, there is no joystick plugged into my computer right now, so it's going to go in a loop. But it found the accelerometer of my computer. I didn't know even my computer had an accelerometer. And that's amazing. If you wonder if your computer has an accelerometer, go to Cursor and select show me the accelerometer data, right? And it's going to do it. You can also say, hey, my system shuts down every day at 3:14 a.m. without any warning. Help me figure this out. Of course, let me come back to here. Of course, here it's not the case, but it has been the case for me where something was shutting down unexpectedly, and it was a config file somewhere, and you're like, what am I going to do? You go to the internet and someone has something similar 13 years ago, correct? So you throw Cursor at it. It will go in the log file. It will do all your stuff. So I see there is a raised hand. So maybe we should take that question. Yep, Usama. Is there a question, or I should keep being enthusiastic about all that?
Yes, Osama, you have your hand raised. Do you have a question?
Yeah, so hey, Doctor, I wanted to ask that uh, last week I was looking into a document where the trending IDEs and these code generator tools was shared. So the CursorAI was, I mean, the WARP was on ahead of this cursor AI tool. So I tried it personally. It was very good with respect to generating code. But you mentioned that cursor AI is very good with respect to the extension ecosystem. We can even migrate all the extensions, existing extensions from VS Code to cursor directly. But still, the understanding of the code base and the solution of the problem is way better in warp. I don't know why, but yeah, even though both of them are using the same sonnet model on the back end.
Yeah, so I have a few cool stuff to tell you right now about that. So first, when you look at Cursor and VS Code and the new stuff, there's a new one from this week. They are all VS Code forks, right? They went on GitHub. VS Code is open source. They click the fork button, and they went to work, and they made it awesome in some way. So yes, all the VS Code extension will port right away into Cursor because Cursor is really VS Code. If you look at the commit actually of the Cursor repo, you see that regularly there's a VS Code merge inside it to get the latest feature. So that's cool. The second stuff is there are so many IDEs right now. I tried Windsurf a few months ago, and I don't know. I didn't find some of the stuff I showed you tonight. I didn't find them there. It was like struggling and not. So I came back to Cursor and I tried again last week for another tool, and I said, okay, I'm trying it. If it's spectacularly better, I'll notice. If it's longer for me to find, kind of the same stuff or worse, I'll stick to Cursor until someone, gives me a phone call about that. But if you find an IDE, let's say Windsurf, that does it, that does all those stuff and help you, and it looks over your shoulder and makes the test and debug for you and resolve your joystick for flight simulator issues and stuff, switch to it. If you find better than Cursor, switch to it. There is no allegiance. Cursor stole everyone from VS Code. I've not opened VS Code since the day I opened Cursor once.
Yeah, same here.
I'm open to do the same stuff. And the last thing I wanted to say is yes. The other day, a bit by mistake, after a weird chat with Cursor, I saw verbatim the whole Cursor prompt. Because yes, it uses Claude, but I didn't try to do that at first, but it printed the whole prompt that Cursor and only Cursor has. So it has its own prompt that says you are helpful assistant, running Claude 4, you do this, and then there's a bunch of rules about how to behave with us. And that's the Cursor prompt. And that could explain why Cursor may be better at some stuff. So maybe that's why I prefer to be on Cursor than the others. Maybe it's something else, because you're right. After the prompt, it's just Claude and nothing else, I have a pro tip also for everyone. That pro tip is for system prompt if you let Cursor go wild with executing stuff on your computer, be it the USB joystick or even running tests and scripts, I've found repeatedly all the time that Claude is better than Gemini. So sometimes I use Gemini to make a huge piece of code that I want to see if it works. But for all the stuff of the demo, all the run this, run that, inspect, I always use Claude 4. Because Gemini gets lost. And that's why you see, slight subtle differences can make a big difference. So yeah, I'm not surprised that you find that Cursor maybe was better or worse than another one that you like for what you do.
So one last question, because we want to be mindful of your time. Really thank for staying late after the allocated time. But this is a curved wall. How far are we from having an agentic coding assistant, which if I am a PR reviewer, it just goes out, reviews my PR for me based upon the prompts I've defined, and just sends me a message when it's done? Are there yet?
We are not far. We have that, and then depending on the problem, it's going to work more or less for your task. But check out codegen.dev, codegen.dev. So we plugged codegen.dev into our ticketing system, into Slack. And so in a conversation about something, if we say at codedev to address codegen, if you say at codegen, can you take a look and maybe I'll try to fix it? And it could be a simple problem of authorization of a file or a typo. And codegen replies, yeah, sure. And then it clones the whole repo on its side, somewhere in the cloud, goes to work, download the stuff, look at the code, generate a PR, sends the PR to GitHub, and then sends you a message. Okay, here's I think it's coming from this, or I'm not sure, but I saw that. You can say all those stuff. and the PR is there. You just have to look at the PR and say like, oh yeah, that looks like it could be it, you know. So yes, we are there. So
and could we approve the PR as well?
I've not.
Automatic. Uh-huh.
That could be. I don't think it has the power of approving a PR because. But
I mean,
we could imagine.
so
It could be.
this question is, you said that the CLI can basically look into your or has the authorization to basically do stuff on your machine. So imagine, I'm not sure, I mean, if it is making sense or not, but since Cursor is running on my machine, right? I'm having a cup of coffee. The assistant could basically pull the PR for me, right?
Yeah.
And only interrupt me if there is a problem with the code.
Yeah. That's yeah, we could do that. I think the answer to your question, how far are we? I would say tomorrow. You know, someone could put something together that does exactly what you said. Actually, I'm tempted to go to Cursor, switch project, to go back to mine and say like, hey, can you put the last PR and review it? I've used it in the past to review stuff, actually, but I don't know if it can approve it by itself. But anyway, it's hours of work reduced to minutes or
Because
nothingness if you're having coffee. Yeah.
yeah, at the end of the day, it is as simple as me asking it to pull the PR and and then approve. Like it's like these steps that it needs to do. It just needs to do it in an agentic way where I'm not disturbed when I'm having my coffee, right?
Yeah. Actually, oh yeah, another pro tip. Let me show you something, because replace chat. Okay. Let's say, do you have the capability to approve PRs? And I'm not going to on GitHub. I'm not going to stop there. I'm going to add @web. So you see when you type, oh, am I still sharing my screen? Oh yes. If you type @web and it becomes like this here, you give Cursor permission to do search on the web. So it's not just going to look into its understanding from 2 years ago when Cloud was trained. It's going online about previous review, blah, 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 etc. Oh, okay, I almost forgot one of the super important rules. Okay, I have to show you. And that may answer your question, and maybe you can ask it, okay, install all those stuff, go to the documentation, do the thing, and approve the PR, you know, or tell me. There is a super important rule I didn't show, but that super important rule was the subject of a post on LinkedIn recently. One of my rules is to start every first exchange of a chat by a reference to a movie. That movie is The Matrix, because I love The Matrix. And I would like you to reflect 5 seconds. Why would I do that? There are 2 reasons. First reason is it's cool. It's really, it's fun. And I like to have fun. So when I start a chat and I see welcome to the real world, Neo, it's like, oh, okay, that's a reference to The Matrix. The second thing it tells me immediately, so that I don't spend minutes later wondering, is Cursor has seen my rules. Because sometimes Cursor does something and you're like, I thought we said what happened? Like, is there a new version and the rules are somewhere else now? Like, are you lost? Like, so it does the thing differently than when you said, and there may be a good reason, or maybe it didn't see your rules. So when I see this at the first beginning of the first message, I know it has seen my rules because it's in my rules. So actually, matrix, where is it? Matrix here. Oh, it's in Cursor rules. Sorry. So matrix. To make sure you are aware of these rules, please start your first message of the conversation with a reference to the matrix. And you can put your favorite movie. Huh? It could be, it could be a cool citation from the Monty Python or something. Maybe I should switch to that. So that was just a pro tip, so that you stop wondering if your rules are being used. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it has been a very wonderful session. About us, but at least I learned a lot. As said, my born again journey into development, I'm already feeling very excited. And I do see a few questions, but I don't think we have enough time. Maybe we'll request Dr. Gail to do a follow-up session, maybe on MCP, maybe on a different topic. But it has been a wonderful journey today with Dr. Gail. Thanks a lot for joining us. Thanks a lot for giving us the time. And I really like the enthusiasm and the passion that you showed. And that is, I think, one thing that we both share. I'm not sure about the others in the chat, but I really like the passion and the enthusiasm when you were talking about these really tips and tricks. And I could already relate to the countless nights we have spent on small issues which are now literally we can solve with a in 5 seconds probably.
All right, cool. I'm happy you liked it, and
Yeah.
I mean,
Mm.
I could go on for more an hour on some of the stuff, like this one. Which tool is an hour? So
Yeah.
there's opportunities to be, to go from 100x to 1000x developer.
Yeah. So let's take it a piecemeal approach. Let's try to digest slowly because there are few students. So these were students. Some of the stuff is very advanced for them. So let's try. Let's have them digest today. This video is going to be made available on YouTube as well. With permission of that. And then we will definitely schedule a follow-up session, inshallah.
All right.
So thank you so much, Dr. Gail. Thank you so much, Irfan Bhai, for moderating this session. I would just like to add here a few things that I would request my audience to do. First of all, please do fill in all the feedback form that we have shared in the chat. This would not only encourage us but also help us improve the upcoming sessions. Secondly, thank you so much for joining in and learning something new that is going to stimulate and help your career grow. And thirdly and lastly, thank you so much, Dr. Gail, once again for sharing this knowledge. We would love to have as Irfan Bhai said, another session with you, and we would definitely on high demand of our audience, we would love to share your documentation with them if you allow so.
Yep. So yeah, no issue with that, and I'll publish the document I was showing on the screen 2 seconds ago, and I'll publish the repo if it's it's already published. Yeah, so it's on my personal repo, I think. So I'll send you a link, and you can disseminate the link if you want, and share it on platform. I have no social media. I'm just on LinkedIn, so that's
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Gail. And I think we are ready to conclude our session for tonight. See you guys in the next session. And definitely thank you so much once again, Dr. Gail, for your time and such an exciting and full of enthusiasm session. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you too.